Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Aṣṭāṅga-yoga Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Aṣṭāṅga-yoga Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Udwarka Dham Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Third Canto, The Status Quo, Chapter 32, Entanglement and Fruitive Activities, Text 27. Etāvān eva yogena samagreṇeha yogina yujyate bhimato artho yat asaṅgas tu kṛtsnaśaḥ etāvān eva yogena samagreṇeha yoginaḥ yujyate bhimato artho yat asaṅgas tu kṛtsnaśaḥ etāvān eva yogena samagreṇeha yoginaḥ yujyate bhimato artho yat asaṅgas tu kṛtsnaśaḥ. Please chant. to chant. So. Please repeat after me. Etāvān, of such a measure. Eva, just. Yogena, by yoga practice. Samagreṇa, all. Iha, in this world. Yoginaḥ, of the yogi. Yujyate, is achieved. Abhimataḥ, desired. He, certainly. Arthaḥ, purpose. Yat, which. Asaṅgaḥ, detachment. To, indeed. Kṛtsnaśaḥ, completely. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. The greatest common understanding for all yogis is complete detachment from matter, which can be achieved by different kinds of yoga. Purport. There are three kinds of yoga, namely bhakti-yoga, jñāna-yoga, and aṣṭāṅga-yoga. Devotees, jñānīs, and yogis all try to get out of the material entanglement. The jñānīs try to detach their sensual activities from material engagement. The jñāna-yogī thinks that matter is false and that Brahman is truth. He tries, therefore, by cultivation of knowledge, to detach the senses from material enjoyment. The aṣṭāṅga-yogīs also try to control the senses. The devotees, however, try to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Therefore, it appears that the activities of the bhaktas, devotees, are better than those of the jñānīs and yogis. The mystic yogis simply try to control the senses by practicing the 8 divisions of yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, etc. And the jñānīs try by mental reasoning to understand that sense enjoyment is false. But the easiest and most direct process is to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. The purpose of all yoga is to detach one's sense activities from this material world. The final aims, however, are different. Jñānīs want to become one with the Brahman effulgence, yogis want to realize paramatma, and devotees want to develop Krishna consciousness and transcendental loving service to the Lord. That loving service is the perfect stage of sense control. The senses are actually active symptoms of life, and they cannot be stopped. They can be detached only if there is superior engagement. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad-gītā, param drishtva nivartate. The activities of the senses can be stopped if they are given superior engagements. The supreme engagement is engagement of the senses and the service of the Lord. That is the purpose of all yoga. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Bhangam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundiritaranam Vancha Kapdaribhishcha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Just once again the translation. The greatest common understanding for all yogis is complete detachment from matter, which can be achieved by different kinds of yoga. So real yoga entails controlling the mind and senses. And the best way to control the mind and senses is to engage them in Krishna's service. As Srila Prabhupada quotes in the purport, Param Drishtva Navartate. We need a higher taste or a superior engagement in order to become free from material entanglement or free from attachment to the material world. But of course, this bhakti that we engage in, it must be real bhakti or authorized bhakti, not speculative forms of bhakti. Recently, devotees in Tucson, I was talking with some devotees from Tucson Temple, and they were telling me of a kirtan group there in Tucson, popular kirtan group. They go all over the place, very expert musicians and so on. They were saying how they went to some kind of festival where they were performing, probably to distribute books or something like that. And these people were performing. They were chanting Hare Krishna. So they're doing that for 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And then all of a sudden they start going into a rock song. Those of you who know the band, Nirvana. They started singing a Nirvana song. But it wasn't just any Nirvana song. They were singing, it's okay, something like the lyrics. I never listened to it, but something like the lyrics. It's okay to eat fish because they have no feelings. That was the song they went into. And then they went back into Hare Krishna. So talk about they call it a Freudian slip. Talk about a heavy Freudian slip there. It's amazing though. Very popular band. So yeah, obviously that is not authorized. I remember hearing from Srila Prabhupada's disciples of the early days in India, when they first brought Krishna consciousness, where when Srila Prabhupada went back to India and he brought some of his disciples, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, why are you going to India to spread Krishna consciousness? Your guru, Maharaj, told you should spread Krishna consciousness in the West, so why are you going back to India? And Srila Prabhupada said, well, I already spread Krishna consciousness in the West, so now I'm going back to India to spread it. So anyways, one Prabhupada disciple was speaking with one Hindu gentleman, and the man was a bit boasting how devotional he was. So he pulled out a silver box and with dried tulsi leaves. And he said, yes, in essence, I'm so pious, I'm so religious that every time before I drink tea, means caffeinated tea, every time before I drink tea, I take one of the dried tulsi leaves and I put it in my cup, you know. So anyways, the guy, he didn't know. So in this way, we could come up with so many different examples of unauthorized forms of bhakti or speculative forms of bhakti. And therefore, we are very blessed to be in Srila Prabhupada's movement, the Hare Krishna movement, and to be under him, his authority, and his sincere followers. So we can have the right idea. So again, without having a superior engagement, without having a higher taste in Krishna consciousness, practically it's impossible to control the senses. And as Krishna brings up in the Bhagavad-gītā, that sannyas, or giving things up, or detachment, without yoga, without connection to Him, is simply suffering. Very interesting. So, trying to give up this world, trying to become detached, trying to control our mind and our senses, without being attached to Krishna and yoga, connected to Krishna, is suffering. And this attachment to Krishna, which also means, naturally controlling our mind and our senses, it is the real platform of peace, as is stated in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. These beautiful paintings here. I believe it's the same artist, right? For all the paintings. Maybe, not sure, but I saw one of them, it says Charu Hasa. Variety of artists, okay. A variety of artists, shared art. Those were the days. Devotees, early artists, mention how sometimes multiple artists would work on one painting. They take turns like that. So. Charu Hasa Prabhu, he's over there in Tucson now. But it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Chaitanya Lila there. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there's a verse, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Aiteva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakala Shanta, that the Krishna Bhakta, because the Krishna Bhakta is desireless, and specifically they're designed everything for Krishna, they are peaceful. They could have peace. But the Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi Kami, Bhukti is material enjoyment, Siddhi is mystic perfection, Bhukti, Mukti, and liberation, personal liberation. Those who are after those things cannot have any peace. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who our Srila Prabhupada gained a lot of inspiration from, his commentaries, Bhagavad-gītā. It's also Srila Prabhupada's, and the Vaishnava calendar, his celebrating him starting his journey to America today. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary to that verse, Bahushaka Hinantascha Vevasayatmaka Buddhir Ekeha Krudanandana, that those who are on this path are resolute in their determination and their aim is one. Those who are not on this path, their intelligence is many branched. And in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains how it is the duty of a disciple to take the instructions of their spiritual master as their life and soul. Whether they are free from birth and death, whether they go back to Godhead, whether the material universe explodes, whatever happens, it is the duty of the disciple to take the instructions as life and soul. So Srila Prabhupada gained a lot of inspiration from that particular verse. Also in the Bhagavad-gītā, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains that even if a man, he gives the example of a man, even if a man was to have all the wealth in the world, all the food in the world, and all of the women in the world, still, that's a lot, right? A lot of food, all the food, all the wealth, that's a lot of wealth, all the women, that's a lot of women. So even if they have all of those, still they cannot be satisfied. It's insatiable, the desire. So in this way, they cannot have peace. But a devotee who is free from these desires can have peace. And the classic example that we hear is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the example of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni was a powerful yogi, a powerful personality. And Ambarish Maharaj was also a powerful personality in a different way. He was a great devotee of Krishna, whereas Durvasa Muni was a great yogi. And he appeared one day, and Ambarish Maharaj, as a perfect devotee and a perfect kshatriya, he wanted to feed this yogi. So Durvasa Muni goes down to the Yamuna, because that's where Ambarish Maharaj was performing his austerities. And while he's there in the water, it says he's meditating on Brahman in the Yamuna. And while he's there, Ambarish Maharaj, the time of breaking the fast is coming, so he drinks some water. Durvasa Muni comes back, and by his mystic power, he understands that Ambarish Maharaj has broken the fast, and he becomes extremely angry, creating a demon from his hair with the purpose of killing Ambarish Maharaj. Such a small, if you even want to call it offense, drinking water, and Durvasa Muni was ready to kill him. It's amazing, actually. So this demon came, and immediately the chakra came and killed this demon. And then this demon, and before that, Ambarish Maharaj, he was just there very peacefully waiting for this demon to kill him. He had no fear whatsoever. So the chakra came, killed the demon. And then the chakra started coming after Durvasa Muni. And what was his reaction? He was very fearful. He started running. So the difference is there. So he runs to all over the universe to save his life, going to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva says, I cannot help you. Vishnu is in charge. He's the master. Going to Lord Brahma, similar thing. Goes all the way up to Vishnu. And Vishnu says, I cannot help you either. You have to go back to Ambarish Maharaj and fall at his feet and ask for forgiveness. And Vishnu goes on to explain that I am under the control of my devotees. They don't know anyone but me, and I don't know anyone but them. They are in my hearts, and I am in their hearts. And he says, not only are my devotees dear to me, but those who are devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. So that gives hope. So he said, you should go back. So he went back to Ambarish Maharaj, and Ambarish Maharaj was still fasting, waiting for Durvasa Muni to come back. So he offers his obeisances. Durvasa Muni offers his obeisances to Ambarish Maharaj, and Ambarish Maharaj forgives him, and actually he didn't take offense. It's the greatness of a Vaishnava. And then it says that he fed him lunch after all that. So we have an example there of Ambarish Maharaj being a real controller of his senses because he was a great devotee. He was fearless, he was peaceful, and he had full control over his senses. Whereas Durvasa Muni was the opposite. Quite the opposite. You also have in the Bhagavad-gītā another Muni, Sabari Muni, who was also in the Yamuna meditating for quite a long time. Does anyone remember? I forgot what it was, 100 years or maybe more, I don't know, I forgot. He was meditating there, And in his meditation, he opened his eyes and he saw two fish copulating. So then the material desires overcame him, and he jumped out of the Yamuna, and through his mystic power, he made himself a youthful, handsome man, and he married 50 princesses. At first they didn't want to marry him, but then he made himself, and then they married him. Now looking at Subari Muni, again he was another yogi, but his fall down was due to his offending a great devotee. We have Garuda here. He offended Garuda. Garuda he's in a unique position. He's practically, I think, the only devotee that I could think of who has fish. It's the only devotee I could think of in an authorized way because of his body. But so he would go to the Yamuna and he would have his lunch there, and Subari Muni was very offended by this. He felt compassion for the fish, and he cursed Garuda that if you come here any longer, this curse will kill you. So in this way, due to his Vaishnava aparat, his offending a devotee, Subari Muni had to go through all of this. There is a happy ending. He suffers a lot through all of that, fall down and so on. But he does realize it. He does realize that he go back to his austerity, and he performs his meditation and all of that. And he actually goes back to Godhead. The Bhagavad-gītā describes he goes back to Godhead, and he also brings his wife. So but why go through all the suffering unnecessarily? Lastly, you have the example of, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you have the three Puris. You have Madhavendra Puri, who is a great devotee of Krishna, pure devotee of Krishna and Chaitanya Lila, and he was on his disappearance bed, and he was lamenting, and he was saying, in essence, I have not attained Krishna, I have not attained the Lord of my life, the Lord of Mathura, what shall I do now? He was lamenting like this. And then one of his disciples, Ramchandra Puri, started to instruct him. And he said, "Oh, dear Gurudev, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gītā that one should not lament. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na shochati na kankshati. So don't lament. Furthermore, you should just meditate on Brahman." That's what he told him, really. First of all, the first problem is instructing his spiritual master. The second problem is really bad advice. So Madhavendra Puri, he was extremely angry with this disciple, and he just told him, "Get out, you sinful rascal." And he said, "If I die seeing your face, I'm not sure where I will go." And this way he was denounced by his guru. And then on the other hand, you have Ishvara Puri, who very humbly served him, reciting Krishna's pastimes, cleaning up, so many different things he was doing, serving him. In this example, he was so elevated that he became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It said he was like an ocean of love of God. So these two examples are given to teach the world the effects of serving a Vaishnav versus offending a Vaishnav. So Ramchandra Puri, he goes on to Jagannath Puri, and it says because of this offense, his heart became full of material desires, and he became a critic of all Vaishnavas, of everyone. So he went to Puri, and his policy is that he would invite devotees for lunch, and he would feed them a lot. Rice, dal, this, that, so many different things, sweets. they say feeding up to the neck, and he would feed them a lot. And then, after feeding them, he would say to them, just see, I have heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, they eat too much, and now I've seen this with my own eyes. It's amazing, actually. He would set them up like that. That's very mean, mean-spirited. So in this way, he was really searching for faults and just creating them. So further, he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hut where he was staying. There's a wonderful painting of this. Ramchandra Puri is looking very angry, and he's pointing to the ground to some ants. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there. He's looking very scared. And Ramchandra Puri, pointing to the ants, he's saying, from this I could understand that you're keeping sweets here. And for a sannyasi to keep sweets, this is against the principle. So in this way he was criticized. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cut his eating in half. All the devotees were very disturbed. And eventually Ramchandra Puri, he leaves Jagannath Puri. Never really hear of him again. So these two examples are there that if we surrender to Krishna, like Ambarish Maharaj, we will be able to control our senses and our mind. If we surrender to Krishna and avoid the offenses to Vaishnavas, then we'll be able to, unlike Sarbara Muni or Ramchandra Puri, if we're able to surrender to Krishna and avoid offenses towards Vaishnavas, we'll be able to maintain our param drishtva nivartate, our higher tastes, our superior engagement, and that will be our success. That attachment to Krishna and natural attachment, detachment from the material world. Okay, does anybody have any question, comment? Yes, Prabhu. I think they're bringing a mic to you. Thank you.
Could you tell me if I'm correct in this, that in the I think in the commentary about Durvasa Muni and Ambarish, that Prabhupada makes comment about the character of Ambarish, that he's actually regretting that Durvasa Muni had to suffer so much. And he says this is the nature of the Vaishnava, that he's actually does not want to see anyone suffer. So he considered it, you have suffered because it's my fault that you have suffered. And he was actually apologetic, and he was regretting Durvasa Muni.
I don't remember that, but it sounds like a Vaishnava to me. I mean, I'm thinking of Haridas Thakur when he was beat in 22 marketplaces by the rulers who wanted him to give up the chanting of Hare Krishna. He said, you could cut my body into 1 million pieces, I still will not give up the chanting of Hare Krishna. And then from there, they went to beat him in 22 marketplaces, and an ordinary person would have died, 1 or 2, but he was surviving, and not only was surviving, but he was in ecstasy chanting Hare Krishna. And then at one particular point, the guards said they were worried, selfish, self-centered, right? They were saying, if you don't die, we come back and the ruler will kill us. And then Haridas Thakur said, if I'm causing an inconvenience by my life, okay. And then he went into trance, and then they said what to do with his body. They told the ruler. And the ruler said, don't bury him, don't bury the body, because it will be a place of pilgrimage. Throw him in the Ganga. So they threw him in the Ganga, and he came out and he continued his chanting of Hare Krishna. Later in the Mahaprakash, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving benedictions to all the devotees for 21 hours there, he was displaying his godhood. Haridas Thakur was called, and he was asked, what benediction do you want? And he said he just wanted to be a humble servant of the Vaishnavas and accept their remnants perpetually. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals in that Mahaprakash that he was immediately going to send his chakra to kill all of these people when he saw this happening. But because Haridas Thakur was praying for their welfare, the chakra was powerless, so it wasn't sent. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed Haridas Thakur his back, and there was marks there. He said, I was taking the beating for you. But highlighting Haridas Thakur's mood, yes, this is the mood of a Vaishnava. They are kripa sindhu, they're an ocean of mercy, which also includes forgiveness. It's very important, forgiveness. So, yes. Thank you. Shachi Tanoy Prabhu.
You were talking about offenses and very dangerous. And sometimes we have seen that some devotees that really dedicated to the service and it bewilders because they're very fixed in doing service and
yes.
a lot of service sometimes, very valuable. But then you see the other side sometimes, unfortunately, due to maybe, I don't know, inheriting them to, commit offenses.
Yeah.
Like sarcastic or derogate other people. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita was mentioned that two devotees, very advanced Vaishnavas, they were commenting one to the other one. He said, some devotees, they serve, but they don't behave good.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, and other ones, they behave good, but they don't preach.
Yes.
So, but you, my dear Prabhu, you're Paramahamsa.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you could make a comment in regards to this.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example of a Krishna realized, self-realized person, pure devotee of Krishna, and that he was a pure devotee, exhibiting the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. They asked Srila Prabhupada, how will we know who your disciples are? And Srila Prabhupada said to be a perfect gentleman, we could say a lady. So that's there, and that was Srila Prabhupada's, he urged his disciples to be like that, and he's urging all people who are his followers throughout time to be like that, to strive for that. Naturally, if one awakens their love for Krishna, then they will have that affection for others. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā, Mamai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. If a person understands that everyone is intimately part and parcels of Krishna, through their Krishna consciousness, if they understand that and realize that, then naturally they'll have affection for others. So we could see that this offending people and so on, it's a lack of realization. Of course, those who are being offended, or those who, it's also a lesson for them in tolerance and humility and so on. After all, it's Kali Yuga, it's an ocean of faults. Means it's very easy to see the faults in others and around. So it's rare to find persons who are free, from these things. It's not so easy. Even the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada's translation of Nectar Devotion, even it says one who's on the platform of bhava, which is a very high level, says that they may have some residual faults, which are considered to be like spots on the moon. They're still given illumination, but so that's the challenge. It's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for us to make it to the mark, and it's a challenge for us to tolerate also. Tolerate others. I visited Boston recently for the first time. They're having their 60th anniversary of when Srila Prabhupada arrived on the boat there. They're inviting all Prabhupada disciples. But I remember a story from Boston that there was one person that they called Crazy Peter. So he was an eccentric fellow. He used to hang out in the lobby, he used to sleep there, and he would read there and just kind of... So devotees, they wrote to Srila Prabhupada, Satsrup Das Goswami and others, they wrote to Srila Prabhupada and said, what to do with this person? He's so-and-so, and they were thinking about asking him to leave the temple. So then Srila Prabhupada wrote back a very interesting thing. He wrote a whole letter, but the thing that jumped out to the devotees is, what's the matter? Can't you tolerate? So that was their answer. So they tolerated him. Then many, many years passed. His Holiness Giraj Swami, he went off to India. And then he said he came back to America like 30 years later, and he came to the Los Angeles temple. So he's here in the temple room, and they're in Tulsi Puja, and then he looks over and he sees this devotee. And then he asks this other devotee, he said, when I joined there was a person named Crazy Peter that looks like him. Is that Crazy Peter? And the devotee said, oh, that person, that's Kṛtsnaśaḥ Prabhu. Those of you who... And then Giraj Swami said, oh, Kṛtsnaśaḥ, you mean the devotee who has been translating like so many books from the Goswamis and who's nourishing the whole movement by that? And they said, yes. So in this way, he was thinking of Srila Prabhupada's mercy on him. So, yeah, we have to tolerate others, we have to tolerate ourselves, but still, we should try. That's the idea. Kevin, you wanted to...
Hare Krishna.
You're still Bhakti Kevin, right? Okay.
Thanks for the wonderful class. So...
Oh, you got initiated. Oh, Krishna Kumar, okay.
Hare Krishna. As we practice spiritual life, we can become very sensitive. And I was just wondering, because when we read about pastimes between devotees, there's also situations where advanced devotees do tease each other or criticize each other as a sort of ras, like chivalry. Like in the pastime with where Advaita Acharya invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda for a feast, and right before Nityananda Prabhu is about to eat, he goes, aren't you an avadut? You're going to enjoy yourself. You just go around begging and eating people's food. Yeah. Advaita has invited him over to eat, but he's trying to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by having this banter. Yeah. And there's examples where Haridas Thakur is doing Bhukta Harinam with Nityananda Prabhu, and then devotees are like, oh, what's it like, doing Harinam with Nityananda Prabhu? He's like, it's terrible. He's like going up to Muslim girls and asking them to marry him, and he's like criticizing, but it's all like sort of ras. Yeah. So how can we? Yeah, I mean that's there. That's possible, but it should be clearly understood between two persons, and they should have that relationship. Just like Srila Prabhupada had a bit of that relationship with his sister. He would tease her and so on, and in so many different ways, quite often. So, yeah, we could have different relationships like that. That's possible, but we have to be sensitive and understanding people and their consciousness and how they want to reciprocate with us. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā, right, Ye tamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiham. As they approach me and surrender, I reciprocate accordingly. So in a similar way, in this world, how people approach us, we reciprocate accordingly. There's an interesting thing about that. When Srila Prabhupada was in Southern California, one of his disciples, he came up to Srila Prabhupada, and he said, he was very morose, looking very depressed, and he came up to Srila Prabhupada and he said, I'm leaving.
And then Srila Prabhupada said, good. And he said, because I was sick of seeing your morose face. Now, that wasn't Srila Prabhupada's, he wasn't being mean towards him, he was just reciprocating. It's like, okay, you want to leave, then, fine, no problem. So, they reciprocate, accordingly. Okay, last, yes.
So on one of the Prabhupada Memories DVDs that Siddhanta Prabhu has produced, he's interviewing Jadharani, and Jadharani is relating how on one occasion she complained to Srila Prabhupada that a devotee that she was interacting with, she was having difficulty, and she didn't know how to resolve it. And Prabhupada said, you have to forgive and forget. And he said, otherwise, how can you go on if you can't forgive and forget? If you just keep this in your mind.
Yes, these things will pull us down, so we have to forgive, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.